There's something happening to an entire generation of young men. They go up, they hit their 20s, they try and connect with women, and something doesn't work. Not physically, mentally. The expectations are off, the wiring is off, the patience is gone. And nobody wants to talk about why. Today, I'm gonna talk about it. Let me start with what we know. The pornography industry is worth almost $100 billion globally. Not a typo. Almost $100 billion. In 2021, 98% of pornographic material was consumed online. 69% of users accessed it via smartphone. 1 in 5 smartphone searches globally include queries related to pornography. 40 million Americans visit adult websites regularly. 57% of young adults between the ages of 18 and 25 consume it once a month. And here is the number that should hit you in the chest. The average age of first exposure to pornography is between the ages of 11 and 13. 11 years of age. Before most boys even understand what a relationship is. Before they have ever held someone's hand. Before they have ever had a real conversation with a girl they liked. They are already learning from pornography what sex is supposed to look like. And that is sadly where the problem begins. Let me be precise about the neuroscience. Pornography triggers the brain's reward system. The same system that responds to food, connection, to survival. Dopamine floods the brain. The reward pathway fires. And the brain learns, this is important, do this again. But here's where it gets complicated. A 2015 brain scan study, one of the first of its kind, found that men who consume pornography regularly showed reduced gray matter in the part of the brain's reward system, responsible for motivation and decision making. Less gray matter in the motivation center. The more they watched, the less responsive their brain became to stimulation. This is called desensitization. The brain adapts to the intensity of what it's seeing. What worked before stops working. So you need more extreme, more regularly, more novel, more stimulation to get the same response. This is the exact same mechanism as a drug tolerance. And researchers scanning the brains of men who had a compulsive addiction to pornography found that the reward system was not the most active when watching pornography, but when anticipating it, craving the anticipation more than the act itself. That pattern mirrors substance addiction almost exactly. Here is a statistic that nobody in mainstream media will ever say out loud. A 2021 study of men between the ages of 18 and 35 found that at least 20% of men reported having some form of erectile dysfunction. 20% of young men. Compare that to the general population baseline. 8% for men in their 20s, 11% for men in their 30s. Young men today have higher rates of erectile dysfunction than men twice their age from previous generations. And among men who watch pornography more than 300 minutes per week, that's 5 hours per week, the rate of erectile dysfunction jumps up to 30%. That's not a coincidence. When you train your brain on high stimulation, always novel, infinite variety digital pornography, a real person with real emotions, with real imperfections in a real setting, cannot even compete. The brain has been recalibrated to expect something that the real world will never, ever deliver. Beyond the individual, what does it do to relationships? One study found that when participants started watching pornography after marriage, the divorce rate increased from 6% to 11%. For women whose partners use pornography, that rate jumped from 6% to 16%. Women in relationships where partners addicted to pornography report less sex. Men report being less aroused by their partners. Think about that. A real person who chose you, who's there with you. And the brain has been conditioned to find digital strangers more appealing. And for adolescents, a 2021 study of 11,000 teenagers between the ages of 14 and 17 found that those exposed to pornography regularly were more likely to engage in aggressive and rule-breaking behavior. The industry is shaping how an entire generation understands power, intimacy, and what another person is for. Now let me talk about the industry itself, because this is not an accident. Pornography platforms are built on the same engagement metrics as social media: infinite scroll, always novel content, algorithmic recommendation. The goal is the same: maximum time on platform. They know exactly what they're doing to the dopamine system. They profit from it. And they start with children. Average first exposure, 11 to 13 years old. These are not adults making informed decisions. These are children whose brains are still forming, whose understanding of relationships is being written for the first time. And pornography is writing it for them. The industry will tell you this is a free speech issue. It is not. It is a public health issue. And the response from institutions, governments, schools, parents has been almost non-existent. Now, I want to be real with you, because this is where most videos on this topic get it wrong. Pornography is not inherently evil. The problem is not watching it once. The problem is what happens when the line disappears. When you can no longer separate the fiction from reality. When you start expecting real people to behave like performers. When you cannot be intimate without it. When you reach for it automatically, without thinking. Whenever you feel bored or lonely or anxious. That is when the damage is done. The research is clear. The harm scales with frequency and compulsivity. Someone who understands they're watching a performance, who maintains a clear distinction between fiction and reality, who does not let it reshape their expectations of a real relationship, is in a fundamentally different position than someone spending 5 hours per week, whose brain is completely desensitized, who cannot be with a real partner. Porn literacy is the term researchers use. The ability to critically understand what you're consuming or not. Most 12-year-olds do not have porn literacy. Most adults who grew up on pornography were never given it. So what do? First things first. Understand what you're consuming. Pornography is a performance. The people in it are performing. The scenarios are constructed. The reactions are often exaggerated or faked. Real intimacy looks absolutely nothing like this. Real intimacy is slow, imperfect, honest, and deeply human. Second, notice the pattern. Are you reaching for it out of loneliness, out of anxiety, out of boredom? If pornography is functioning as an emotional coping mechanism, that is a sign worth paying attention to and getting properly structured help. Third, if it's affecting your real relationships, get honest about it. Erectile dysfunction in your 20s is not inevitable. It is a signal from your brain that something has been miscalibrated. That calibration can be reset. Fourth, build something real. The reason pornography fills the void for so many young men today is because the void is real. Loneliness is real. Isolation is real. The erosion of third places, real communities, of genuine connection. All of that is real. I completely understand it. Pornography steps into that empty space and offers a simulation of intimacy. The answer is not just to remove pornography. The answer is to fill the space with something real. Real relationships, real communities, real intimacy. However slow, however uncertain, however imperfect. So, this channel was built on the basis of being honest and authentic. So, I'm gonna be honest and authentic. I've been exposed to pornography since I was about 11 years of age, and throughout the years, I did use it as a tool to regulate myself and keep myself human from time to time. What I never did, thank God for that, is fall into the deep cycles of being unable to live without it. That is because I know how to separate fiction from reality. I know that what I saw on there was a glorified performance. I also know the real intimacy, real vulnerability can only be accessed in real life with a person you love. A screen cannot offer that. It never did, and it never will. So what I want you to do, if you're stuck watching it, rethink what pornography really is and what it's doing to you. If it's something you do from time to time, okay, no problem. You're human. But if it is becoming a grudge, a pattern, an over-reliance, a way to handle your own urges, you should really consider getting structured professional help or someone to speak with. And I mean this with the utmost compassion. Do not take it the wrong way. You matter. Your sex life, your love life, your relationship with your partner, all of that matters. Do not allow pornography to win. See you on the next one. I'm out. Stay away from pornography.